These allegations are entirely unfounded. The truth is not a matter of opinion, it is a matter of evidence. All relevant evidence has been carefully preserved and documented, including audio recordings, written communications, witness statements, and video material. This evidence has been submitted to appropriate judicial authorities in order to pursue legal action for attempted extortion, falsification of evidence, misappropriation of funds and personal property, and
Ilia Topuria, the UFC lightweight champion, just dropped a bombshell that changes everything we thought we knew about his explosive divorce. He's not the villain painted by his ex-wife, Georgina Uzcategui. Instead, Topuria claims he is the actual victim, accusing her of attempted extortion, falsification of evidence, misappropriation of funds, and multiple threats. This jaw-dropping counter-narrative, backed by his claims of preserved evidence, completely flips the script on the public perception of this high-stakes family drama, forcing everyone to reconsider the true nature of the accusations that sent the UFC world into a frenzy and sidelined one of its biggest stars. This is far from a simple split. It's a legal battle where both sides are digging in deep, and the stakes couldn't be higher for everyone involved.
Out of respect for my children and the ongoing legal proceedings, I will not be making any further public statements. I respectfully ask that speculation be avoided and that my family's privacy be honored during this sensitive time. The truth does not require volume, it requires...
The initial storm erupted when Georgina Uzcategui filed a complaint on November 18, 2025 in Mostoli's Court of Guard. Her accusations were severe: domestic violence, gender violence, injuries, and family abuse, setting off a chain of events that would soon plunge the UFC champion into a personal crisis of epic proportions. These allegations weren't just a private matter, they ignited a media firestorm, creating a narrative that painted Topuria in an extremely negative light and forced him to step away from his highly successful career, leaving fans and the organization in a state of stunned confusion. The legal wheels were set in motion, and the world watched closely for what would come next in this escalating conflict.
Understand even more so why he would want to step away and not focus on fighting or defending his title, because obviously there's a lot going on. It's extremely sad. It's I feel for everyone involved. I feel for his family. I feel for his kids. It's an all.
Following her complaint, Uzcategui was swiftly enrolled in Spain's Atom Pro protection program on December 1, 2025. This critical step came after a thorough risk assessment by authorities, providing her with an emergency mobile phone and specific protection measures, while she declined additional options like shelter, choosing to remain in the family chalet with her daughter and grandmother. Her enrollment in such a program immediately amplified the gravity of the situation in the eyes of the public and the media. It underscored the perception of a credible threat, further solidifying the prevailing narrative against Topuria, making his subsequent counter-allegations even more shocking to those following the case.
They have been excellent. We have a special connection. I have understanding without having to give a lot of explanation, understanding from them. From the very first moment, they have extended their hand. I have been offered their support in any time I needed it. So I don't really know. I'm very happy for the support I've received from them, for the understanding, and also happy about the steps.
Topuria first broke his silence on December 15, 2025 with an Instagram post that shocked fans, explaining his abrupt hiatus from the UFC. He forcefully declared Georgina's allegations unfounded, signaling his intent to fight back against the growing storm of accusations. This was more than just a public statement. It was his first defiant roar, indicating he wouldn't passively accept the claims being made against him. The post served as a direct challenge to the narrative that was quickly taking hold, setting the stage for the dramatic revelations that would follow, and transforming a private marital dispute into a high-stakes public spectacle, leaving everyone wondering what he had to reveal.
Obviously, you just saw Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett for the interim title. Earlier, Topuria posted, "I'm dealing with some personal problems, so I'm not gonna fight the first quarter." So the winner of Gaethje versus Paddy will be the interim title, and then they will face Topuria.
Crucially, Topuria didn't just deny the claims, he asserted he had meticulously preserved a mountain of evidence. This included audio recordings, written communications, witness statements, and even video material, all carefully documented and submitted to judicial authorities. This trove of alleged proof forms the bedrock of his defense and his counterclaims, indicating a calculated and strategic response to the serious accusations leveled against him. The existence of such comprehensive evidence suggests a deep-seated dispute that had been simmering for some time, far beyond what the public initially perceived, hinting at a complex web of deceit and betrayal.
I had to dig into this. I guess I misunderstood. Ilia Topuria made headlines. My belief through the headlines is that Ilia was walking away from the UFC championship belt, thus elevating Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett to undisputed title.
Armed with this extensive evidence, Topuria is now pursuing aggressive legal action against Uzcategui. His counter-allegations are stark: attempted extortion, falsification of evidence, misappropriation of funds and personal property, and multiple threats. These aren't minor disagreements, they are serious criminal charges that, if proven, would fundamentally alter the public's understanding of the entire dispute. This move shifts the narrative dramatically, turning the tables on his accuser and presenting a completely different version of events, forcing a re-evaluation of who exactly is the victim and who is the perpetrator in this escalating legal battle, with reputations hanging in the balance.
The story is that this made headlines for something that we were already told a couple of weeks ago, and there is no escalation from that, meaning Ilia Topuria is not vanquishing or having stripped from him the title.
On January 3, 2026, Topuria released another powerful statement, directly addressing the swirling media coverage surrounding his upcoming January 7th court appearance. He accused one Spanish outlet of publishing false information about the hearing's nature, clarifying that the summons was for a family and administrative matter concerning his daughter's travel, not for gender violence testimony. This decisive clarification aimed to cut through the sensationalism and set the record straight, attempting to regain control of the narrative and correct what he viewed as irresponsible reporting that was further damaging his already precarious reputation. The battle wasn't just in court, it was playing out in the public eye.
The UFC doesn't exactly have the greatest track record of giving a shit if you hit a woman or not. John Jones, heavyweight champion of the world, arrested for beating his fiance. Arrested for it. Not accused of, arrested for it. And he remained the champion until he retired.
The true nature of the January 7th hearing, as clarified by Topuria, was purely administrative. It pertained solely to his daughter's travel outside of Spain, with Uzcategui requesting court permission to take their child to the United States, where her family resides. This detail is critical, as it reframes the court appearance from a potentially damning indictment of gender violence into a more common, albeit sensitive, custody dispute. It underscores the profound impact the separation has had on their child and highlights the ongoing struggle over parental rights, a painful aspect of any divorce, but especially one so publicly scrutinized and fraught with serious allegations.
Ultimately, with Ilia, he carries himself like a champion. You know, he's done a good job marketing himself. He hasn't been trash like, in terms of some other people that we've seen across, over the last couple of years. He's done a good job. So I'm not going to sit here and just throw heat at him and throw shade at him. I think he's got a good chance of proving, if he seems convinced he can prove her wrong or prove the allegations to be incorrect, then good for him.
Perhaps the most heartbreaking revelation from Tupuria's side is that he had not seen his daughter in 4 months, despite his desperate attempts. For a fighter who has often spoken about the importance of family and fatherhood, this separation represents a profound personal agony, a wound far deeper than any legal or professional setback. He expressed unwavering faith that the judicial process would ultimately allow him to reunite with his daughter Georgina and son Hugo, emphasizing the emotional toll this battle has taken. This detail adds a layer of raw vulnerability to his public persona, humanizing the champion amidst the accusations and legal complexities.
As of now, there's no real timeline set in place. He spoke to ESPN Deportes about that, about his decision to walk away. Here's what he had to say, and I'll read the subtitles for you in case you're just listening to the audio.
The couple's relationship began around 2020, seemingly a fairy tale start for the rising UFC star. Georgina Uzcategui, at the time, was an accomplished woman, a graduate of Miami-Dade College, with a postgraduate degree from Suffolk University, who had successfully established herself as CEO of companies in Florida, including Future and Energy and Future Alkaline Water. Her relocation to Spain after meeting Topuria at a dinner event paints a picture of a committed relationship, a professional leaving her established life to be with him. This background complicates the narrative, suggesting she was not financially dependent from the outset.
As I've communicated, I'm going through some personal problems. I do not have an exact date when everything will be fixed. I hope that as soon as possible, as soon as it is solved, I will be ready to go back. In the octagon, I prioritize at this time the welfare of my family, of my children, my own. So as soon as everything is solved, I will be back to the octagon to give it the show that everyone deserves.
Their union was formalized through both civil and religious ceremonies, reportedly accompanied by a prenuptial agreement, a detail that adds another layer of complexity to the financial dispute. Their daughter, Georgina, was born in June 2024, joining Tupuria's 6-year-old son, Hugo, from a previous relationship, creating a blended family. The existence of a prenuptial agreement is crucial, as it suggests an early understanding of financial boundaries, potentially undermining claims of extortion or unreasonable financial demands later on. This seemingly prepared for divorce, however, spiraled into something far more volatile than anyone could have predicted.
And then he'll get back on track, and it's not going to be easy though. Like, people think like, oh, it's going to be done, it's going to swipe it underneath the rug. But the problem is though, is that there's time away from training, not just that, the mental game. He's not what he will be when he comes back, what he was when he left.
The separation itself reportedly occurred in the summer of 2025, but the seeds of conflict were sown months later. According to Tupuria's side, he initiated a civil divorce petition after rejecting what he described as completely unreasonable financial demands from Georgina. This paints him as the one taking the first legal step in the divorce, attempting to manage what he perceived as excessive financial expectations. This crucial detail suggests that the domestic violence complaint might have been a reactive measure, filed weeks after Topuria initiated divorce proceedings, fundamentally altering the chronology and potential motivations behind the escalating legal battle.
Will he come back being the same guy? Probably not. It's going to take him time to get his mental back on track. This sport is very mental. Everything is about it is mental. You know, whether it's the fitness, whether it's the conditioning, the diet, the nutrition, making sure that you're financially stable with your at home. You know, your trainers are all taken care of. Like, there's so much that goes into it.
Georgina Uzcategui's representatives, through her lawyer Cristina Correll Cortina, responded on December 18, 2025, pushing back against Tupuria's claims. Their statement emphasized the private nature of proceedings involving a minor and urged media to avoid speculation. They fiercely denied any extortion, characterizing the financial negotiations as standard for economic packages in divorce proceedings, a stark contrast to Tupuria's portrayal. This direct rebuttal solidified the conflicting narratives, with both sides presenting vastly different interpretations of the financial discussions and setting the stage for a prolonged and bitter legal confrontation.
Ilia Topuria's fighting career, it's done. And it's a shame to see it end this way. Everything going on right now outside of his fighting career, personal life, that's big things going on in this man's life. Why would
Uzcategui's camp also asserted that she had sacrificed her U.S. businesses to raise their daughter in Spain, seeking only the best outcome for the child. This narrative frames her as a dedicated mother making personal and professional sacrifices, thereby justifying her financial requests within the context of divorce. Furthermore, her entourage claimed she initiated the divorce, a direct contradiction to Tupuria's account, and stated that she possesses her own evidence supporting her position. They ominously warned that once the truth is known, everything Georgina has endured with him will be revealed, promising a dramatic unveiling of her side of the story.
he has all the money in the world, double champion, undefeated, but what a career he's had if it is done. I mean, just knocked out Charles Oliveira and went up to 155, finished Max Holloway, finished Alexander Volkanovski, and what a rise he came on since fighting Bryce Mitchell back
Despite the severity of Eskatagai's allegations and her enrollment in a protection program, no restraining order, arrest, or immediate notification against Topuria has been issued. This critical legal point indicates that, as of now, authorities have not found sufficient grounds for immediate protective measures against the UFC champion, leaving the case under ongoing judicial review. This absence of immediate legal restrictions offers a significant, albeit temporary, reprieve for Topuria and casts a shadow of uncertainty on the initial claims, leaving the public to grapple with conflicting facts and the slow grind of legal due process.
I mean, what he has done and how he's ultimately changed the sport, but the weird thing about it is this not parallel to Conor McGregor? And look what Conor McGregor has seen. I mean, 2 years ago, we were talking about the same thing. After he pulled out against Michael Chandler, it's like, is this guy done? And what Ilia came out and said, I'm glad he came out and talked about it.
Public signs of trouble first surfaced in October 2025 when Eskatagai conspicuously deleted most joint photos from her social media accounts, a modern-day signal of relationship turmoil. By the time fans noticed this digital purge, negotiations over financial settlements and custody were already well underway and significantly deteriorating rapidly. This early indicator of discord suggests that the couple had been experiencing deep-seated issues long before the formal legal complaints exploded into public view, revealing a timeline of escalating tensions and disagreements behind the carefully curated public image of a champion's happy family life.
You do wonder, at some point, will they decide to make that interim belt the actual belt if he's not going to come back anytime soon? I think I don't think that they're going to be forced to do that for the January event. We'll see what kind of timeline he's on, how long this is going to play out. But if it's by next summer, perhaps they make.
The complications extended beyond the divorce itself. On December 23, 2025, Eskatagai filed a police report citing threats and cyber harassment on social media, which she claimed had intensified following Topuria's public statement. This new development added a layer of digital danger to the already complex legal battle, highlighting the dark side of social media in high-profile disputes. The alleged online abuse not only increased the emotional toll on her, but also expanded the scope of the legal fight, drawing attention to the broader public reaction to the unfolding drama and the viciousness that can accompany online commentary.
And perhaps that's why a guy like Arman doesn't seem too bothered by what's going on. These things can play out in many different ways, and you're on the outside and then you're on the inside, and everything changes in an instant.
Further escalating her claims, on December 30, 2025, Eskatagai filed an expanded complaint, including a medical report documenting anxiety-related hospitalization and death threats. This detailed medical and emotional evidence aimed to paint a picture of severe distress and genuine fear, lending more weight to her allegations and portraying the profound impact the situation was having on her well-being. Reports also emerged that she was struggling to find legal representation, an unexpected obstacle in such a high-profile divorce, suggesting potential difficulties in pursuing her case despite the apparent severity of the claims.
Because there have been some rather strange things that have happened to him as of late. I mean, the number one contender for his belt, Arman Tsarukyan, ends up not getting a shot at the belt, has to go out and do another fight, which officially gets named the number one contender's fight, of which Tsarukyan wins, but he is not fighting for the belt. Paddy the Baddy versus Justin Gaethje are going to go ahead and fight. Though I don't know if either one of them has ever asked to fight the other, as much as they just want.
While Topuria's personal life descended into chaos, the UFC faced its own set of challenging decisions. The lightweight division, which Topuria had conquered just 6 months earlier, found itself in limbo. Dana White, the UFC CEO, surprised many by expressing genuine sympathy for Topuria, a stark contrast to the organization's usual hardline stance on fighter issues. This unusual level of discretion from the UFC, avoiding immediate talk of stripping the title, demonstrated a rare display of support, acknowledging the severity of Topuria's situation and prioritizing his personal well-being over immediate business concerns.
He did also say that he wants to finish his MMA story and then go into boxing, but that's a lot of steps away, and I don't think we need to get into that.
Topuria himself voiced deep appreciation for the UFC's handling of his situation, telling ESPN Deportes, "I have been excellent. We have a special connection. I have understanding without having to give a lot of explanation." He noted their immediate support and willingness to extend a helping hand. This understanding culminated in the pragmatic business decision to move forward with an interim title fight, allowing the lightweight division to maintain momentum without stripping Topuria of his undisputed championship. It was a strategic solution that protected the champion's status while giving contenders a path forward, a testament to the strong relationship between fighter and promotion.
Just a very unfortunate situation for someone who, was on this meteoric rise, and will hopefully for him, if everything works out in his favor, be able to continue that rise. But obviously this is a huge obstacle on a personal level that he's going to have to overcome, and wish everyone involved the best, and hopefully it can be resolved sooner rather than later.
However, the situation sparked immediate questions about the long-term viability of this arrangement. Analyst Chael Sonnen, among others, initially misunderstood the interim title announcement, believing it meant Topuria was relinquishing his undisputed belt. This confusion underscored the broader uncertainty. How long could the UFC realistically maintain an interim title if Topuria's legal entanglements dragged on indefinitely? While the current plan protected his status, the unspoken reality was that an extended absence could eventually necessitate more drastic action, testing the limits of the UFC's patience and their unique connection with their embattled champion.
The UFC's relatively lenient stance toward Topuria stands in contrast to how the organization has handled similar situations in the past. Some observers pointed to historical precedents that suggested the UFC doesn't always maintain such patience with inactive champions.
The MMA community's response was predictably polarized. Ariel Helwani, a prominent voice, approached the situation with cautious neutrality, emphasizing the gravity of the accusations without rushing to judgment. However, not all reactions were so measured. UFC featherweight Bryce Mitchell, known for his outspoken views, released a scathing video directly accusing Topuria of domestic violence, calling him a wife-beater and a coward despite the absence of any conviction or formal charges. This stark contrast highlighted the precarious nature of reputation in the age of instant social media, where allegations alone can swiftly reshape public perception and spark heated, divisive debates.
When Topuria addressed the timeline for his return, his focus remained firmly on family priorities.
The ongoing legal battle and Topuria's extended hiatus raised critical questions about his career trajectory and mental readiness. Pundits openly worried about the mental game aspect, noting that time away from rigorous training and the relentless focus required for championship-level fighting would inevitably impact his return. "He's not what he will be when he comes back when he was when he left," one analyst observed, acknowledging the profound mental and physical toll this personal crisis would exact. Even if legally vindicated, returning to peak performance would be an uphill battle, demanding immense resilience far beyond the physical challenges of the octagon.
Some commentators took a more provocative stance on the implications of the situation for Topuria's legacy. One analyst suggested that if the hiatus extended indefinitely, it could represent the effective end of Topuria's fighting career.
As 2026 unfolds, Ilia Topuria faces an uncertain future, its course determined not in the octagon, but within Spanish courtrooms. The January 7th hearing, an administrative step for his daughter's protective measures, is merely the first in what promises to be a lengthy and arduous legal process. His counterclaims of extortion and falsification, if successful, could vindicate his position, but such proceedings often span months or even years, leaving him in a prolonged state of professional limbo. The fate of his career, his family, and his reputation hangs precariously in the balance, subject to forces largely outside his immediate control.
Why would he need to come back?
The reasoning behind this conclusion centered on what Topuria had already accomplished and what he stood to gain, or lose, by returning.
He has
The UFC's continued handling of the situation will also evolve. While Dana White has shown understanding, business considerations will eventually take precedence if Topuria's absence extends too far into 2026. The unspoken threat remains: if he cannot compete through the summer, the interim title could be converted to an undisputed championship, effectively stripping him without using that terminology. This scenario, consistent with the UFC's historical practices, underscores the brutal reality of professional sports, where personal crises, regardless of their legitimacy, eventually clash with promotional obligations, creating immense pressure on a champion already battling on multiple fronts.
Back in
my
2021.
The speculation drew comparisons to Conor McGregor, whose whose own extended absences from competition had led to similar questions about whether he would ever return at the same level.
I mean,
For the broader lightweight division, Topuria's situation creates both opportunity and frustration. The interim title fight between Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett offers a temporary solution, but the winner's ultimate status remains dependent on Topuria's eventual return, creating a limbo that affects matchmaking and future title planning. This arbitrary nature of the interim fight, driven by necessity rather than organic top contender clashes, highlights the unusual circumstances. It's a testament to the unpredictable nature of top-tier MMA, where personal dramas can derail carefully laid plans, throwing an entire division into prolonged uncertainty. Topuria has previously hinted at a future transition from MMA to boxing, suggesting he views his fighting career as finite. The question now becomes whether this transition will follow a triumphant return to the UFC, or if his current legal battles will force a premature or inglorious end to his MMA story. The allegations from his estranged wife and the ensuing legal proceedings have cast a long, inescapable shadow over his legacy, threatening to define his career by controversy rather than his undeniable achievements inside the cage, leaving his future path clouded by uncertainty and the harsh glare of public scrutiny. This entire saga represents a monumental obstacle for a fighter who was on a meteoric rise, a personal battle far removed from the physical challenges of the octagon. Unlike opponents he can strategize against and defeat with superior technique, this fight is against the slow, grinding machinery of legal systems and the court of public opinion. It's a situation where the outcomes are largely outside his direct control, dependent on judicial pace, investigative findings, and the willingness of all parties to seek a resolution. What unfolds next will determine not just his career, but the very fabric of his family life, leaving everyone involved wishing for a swift and fair resolution to this incredibly sad situation.